Hello everyone. This video that I am going to review today with you guys is a very brief video on Excel. Part of the reason I'm doing this is, and it's a very basic video, and some of you may not need it. But the reason I'm doing this is because there are tools in Excel that we will be using and covering in this class. And right from doing homework to the projects, you'll be needing Excel for your work. So knowing the basic tools and refreshing what they can do is always a good idea. So this will be a very big video walking over those things. And then at the end, towards the end, we will walk you over through some problems from chapter 1 that I've taken from the textbook, and how to construct pie charts and bar graphs and all these. Probably many of you already know that, but still we will review all these as a refresher for Excel. So I will start with just a basic Excel guideline. As you guys can see, this is just a spreadsheet. Okay, this spreadsheet is part of the chapter 1 data that I have put on your blackboard. I'll show you exactly where, but just looking at the main spreadsheet and or a worksheet just to know where the various tabs are, what are the tools we need, and we may use more for this class. Of course, there's the file option, and I don't have to say a lot of things about these. All of you know what file is all about. File saves and everything. You can export your data. One of the things that I'm going to show you after a while is how with the options tab here on the file menu, you can actually add in basic things like data analysis too. And then of course the home is you can use this always to format your the way you're presenting your data, your analysis. I always find it good to use the Times New Roman 12 font and change your colors, margin, center, whatever you're doing. Probably when I'm doing problems with you in the later chapters in Excel, I can show you many of the ways that I'm using these, and you can also perhaps use these. One of the things that I really like is decreasing my decimal points, because sometimes when you use formula in Excel, it comes with a lot of fractional values and too many decimals at the end. So I always try to decrease it. And then there are tools like conditional formatting and stuff like these, which will also be helpful if you need them as problems. There's insert, delete, format, etc., etc. Different kinds of things you can play around within the cell itself. Not necessarily you have to always use this, but I'm just showing you. One of the more important toolbars in Excel that we are going to use is insert button. Please remember, this is important because we are getting all these charts, including pie diagrams, line diagrams, bar graphs that we are going to use from the insert menu. And I was also inclined to use a little bit of pivot table in this class if necessary. Sometimes in chapter 2 we can use it. Sometimes we can just do the histogram. And then there's the line graph and the column diagram, column graph separately in here. Then there is the draw tool. I'm not sure we will use a lot of these in our class. If you feel like comfortable, you can use it. One of the things about page layout I've seen is again formatting, just like in the home button, you can format your report or your analysis that you're doing. You're presenting an Excel file to your office manager. You're presenting your Excel report to me, just a basic report. I've asked you to draw a pie chart and present me something, or maybe a histogram and present me something as a report. You can actually adjust the height, the width of the report, change your scaling, make your, not just the font, but you can change the scale in the whole area, in the whole spreadsheet. And if you don't know, there is a very nice button here. I think it's on page layout orientation. You can either present your page as a portrait or a landscape. Landscape is a bigger area. Sometimes I feel it's comfortable to use the whole area as a landscape button. But usually the default is portrait. So I'll go back to these, and then you can change your margins and size, etc. After page layout, you have the formulas. I will probably show you most of the formulas we are going to use. If you want to use out of curiosity, you want to use anything, we will probably need more of the math and the trig functions, and there are other more functions here too that you can use. The divider came because of size. So later, because I put a size. But anyways, so you can financial formulas are very frequently used in my major, like in economics and finance. Financial formula is important. Then you have text formula, just just using count or something like this. Date and time. You can always click on the cell and format cell and do all these. But formula, having a formulas button in Excel is always good. And as I said, math and trigger probably you may need, although I'll show you exactly what we need mostly for our purposes. There's more functions too. You can always figure out statistical functions, which we'll be using in this class. And then the most important one, the data review button. Here is something that I would like to show you right now that I have. Probably many of you need to add this if it's not already in your Excel. It's a data analysis tool we will be using, ladies and gentlemen, from almost the start of the class, starting from chapter 2. You have all these queries and CSVs and all these you can always import into Excel. And if you take one of those classes like information systems and all these, you get a knowledge of these, but we will use the simple data analysis tool in Excel. The data analysis tool will actually consist of all the stuff that we need. Most of the stuff, I would say, we will need correlation, for example, and descriptive statistics. We will need a histogram for share in chapter 2. I can also teach you random number generation, except that we are not going to do a lot of sampling here. Regression, sampling, t-test, regression and t-testing. We'll be using a lot of testing, t-testing, and then the z-test, normal distribution test is also there. So data analysis is going to be a very important part of our course. And so I will show you exactly how you can do it. And I do have a guideline to go there right at the start of the guidelines for Excel on your Blackboard. I posted some notes. So go to File, go all the way to Options. The computer is a little slow. It will take some time here. Once you go to options, see there are things you can do, but you want to add in data analysis, you go to the add in tab. Once you are in the add in tab, ladies and gentlemen, you have the analysis toolpack and the analysis toolpack VBA and the solver and add in whatever you want, you just put it there and you click OK. I would say for our purposes, since in the basic stats class, we are not invoking VBA and all this. The Visual Basic Application needs some things that you are going to code apart from the basic Excel worksheet, but we will be using basic Excel worksheet in this basic statistics class. So let's just get the analysis toolpack added in, which I already have. You guys will see a data analysis after you refresh your button. So you have added the data analysis. Please make sure and to access it, it is in the data tool. Okay? And as I said, from chapter 2 onwards, we'll be using it. And then you have the review toolbar, review tool button here. Review, we will not be using a lot, except for if you want to make some comments. I sometimes make comments in a Word document or an Excel document. So review is mostly about making a comment. The view toolbar, as many of you already probably know, sometimes it's like this, as I've divided the worksheet, as you can see. The view is like how much, if you want to freeze something, if you just want to look at something and freeze the other end, if you want to split your Excel spreadsheet, if you're working on something, you want to split it. For example, in chapter 6, we will have a big worksheet we'll be working on. And then one of the things probably would be helpful is to use the split button and split it on the basis of what you are doing, what your focus is. Okay. So anyways, these are the different buttons and the various tools that you will be using in Excel. The next thing I would like to show you are using specific Excel toolbars to generate pie graphs and bar diagrams, etc. So looking at some of the specific problems that we have in chapter 1 for your from your textbook. One of the things I would say is I am showing all these from your textbook, but a good way to do it is to do it yourself. Practice yourself after watching this video. For those of you who are not familiar with generating these bar graphs and pie charts, etc., etc. So you can watch me as I'm doing these. I've already have the reports and everything, and all this textbook data are already posted on your Blackboard. But let me show you once more how these are done. So what I will do is separately do this in another spreadsheet. Take these numbers. So basically, how much is spent by each group? The question was about how much Christmas spending is done by family, friends, co-workers, and others. For your family, friends, co-workers, and others, how much you spend. And basically looking at a percentage number, how much you spend on family, friends, co-workers, and others. One thing I always find it need to do is how much you spend in total. Using some function in Excel, we can have a total amount you spend on average during Christmas. That's an average number. As we all know, many of us spend on an inflation adjusted index this year. We might be spending more than $1,000 on an average per household on each of these groups for Christmas. But anyways, I would like to show you a pie chart depicting your spending and amount. So let's take these, highlight these, ladies and gentlemen, first. Use the insert button. As I told you, insert button is the most helpful one. Insert. And I first would like to show you the pie charts. Pie chart, the word comes from the fact it's a share of the whole pie. So you were doing the shares. But see what happens is I put these amounts, but the amounts are shown. That's good. I will change these names. So you just double click on this. I will name this spending. These are all problems you will see taken from your textbook. I use the last edition of the textbook, and that's where you'll see my page numbers coming from. But you can check these problems going to the textbook and seeing what problem I'm doing. But it shows that the highest chunk of your pie is spent on family, and then your friends, co-workers, and others, friends. So let's kind of put it on the pie. So one of the ways I would like to do it is just to right click, format the data series. Okay, and in formatting, what I see is all these options, but I'm really looking for naming these. I'm putting percentage values if possible on the chart area. I really wanted to format the data series if possible. Yeah, the percentages are just not shown. Add data labels. So the labels are being shown. Add data labels. I did the same thing, right clicked. But when you added the data labels, it just showed the actual numbers. For a good report, ladies and gentlemen, I always prefer the percentage amount. You're showing these to your teacher, to your boss, or anything. You're reporting the percent. You're probably reporting the percentage share of the spending during Christmas. So go back to format the data as labels, because that was the problem, not the series. And what I would do instead of values, I would put, excuse me, so I want to use this and data labels. Format data labels. I would put the percentages here and then show the leader lines, which just shows how much is the percentage for each group. And then I will close this off. Okay, so now you, I would rather not have the values, and I would rather have just the percentages look good to me. And then family spent. So if you're writing the report, for example, your holiday expenses will be the total amount spent in holiday gifts by consumers and $604. That's what we found out. Consumers seem to spend the highest percentage of their gifts to family, followed by friends. So see, in this, I go back to my sheet 2 out here. You can put the leader lines, but here a good part is you actually put the percentages inside the pie. That's fine. You can put this as a leader line, as I said, arrow, which looks good. We can do that too. Let's see if we can format the data levels. Show leader lines and category name. Yes, great. Can do that. I think that looks very good. Now we have family 75%. That is a neat report that will come out. So consumers spend 75% of their Christmas spending of their Christmas expenses on family, followed by friends and co-workers. So that's, I would say, the good example of a pie chart. I did put the holiday spending at the bar graph, which is good, but let's see where bar graph is more interesting. There's another problem on a time series problem, and you have all these in chapter 1, part of chapter 1, representation and knowing statistics. You have a time series given as, why I call these a time series? We call this a time series because it's a series of years and the earnings of ExxonMobil's in the billions of dollars per year given to you. So you can make a lot out of these reports, unlike the other one, which is kind of a static one. This is going over years. So you can get a total earnings for all these years using the sum function. You can get an average earnings using the adjust the pure average statistical function equals average. Note what formula bar, what I'm doing. You can do a lot of reporting. What was the total amount of earnings, annual earnings by ExxonMobil over these number of years, 2005 to 2016, $347 billion. On the other hand, think about the corporations earning that money. In your report, you can also say that on average over 2005 to 2016, ExxonMobil earned $28.92 billion, okay, over these years. So I have put a lot of things in your report. The more glamorous your report, the more nice your reporting part is, and you will get more points for that. Your boss will like you. So let's do the time series graph I have put in here, based on which I wrote so many things in the report. So I will take these, go to the insert function, take just a 2D column. Let's see how my chart looks a little weird, because here your earnings and year came together. So you go to select data, not data levels. Data levels is after you have done everything in your graph. You just don't, you do not format data series. Let's select the data properly first. So as you can see in the horizontal axis, something weird has happened. I wanted it to be time, the years specifically in this axis. So what I will do, I will change this horizontal axis to my years. Okay, and on the vertical axis, I will check out this one. This should not be. So I'll remove this year from the vertical of the legend entries. Legend entries will be on the vertical column. And what I will do is provide the earnings. And now my graph looks like the one I had. ExxonMobil earnings are one of the highest in 2008. That's kind of a anomaly to me. 2008 was a great recession year. But even during the recession time, ExxonMobil, being an oil company, big oil company, was earning billions of dollars. And that's your bar graph. And so once more, you go to the insert menu button, First, you have to select, though, ladies and gentlemen, first you have to select the data. Always select the data first. Go to the insert column, select your bar graph. If there is a problem, as I showed you, always go back to selection of data and then kind of figure out what is wrong. Here I figured out the wrong thing is earnings. Usually in a time series data, earnings or any other variable is on the vertical axis, years are on the horizontal axis. So we all know what is the problem, how we can rectify this problem. So for this one, so we know that this is a bar graph. Here, we do not want a pie chart. Pie chart will just make it very, very confusing. Pie chart is very suitable for a static purposes, 1 year data or something. For many of the years comparisons, you can still use pie chart, but if you're using different companies, for one single company like ExxonMobil, ladies and gentlemen, there's no need to use a pie chart. I would rather use a bar graph and show the earnings over time. You can make your graph look stylish by putting more train lines and stuff, but even just a simple bar graph can give you a nice report. So I'm writing this report, and this is also posted on your Blackboard. The annual earning of ExxonMobil picked up in 2008, shows an increasing trend in 2008, then fell down in 2009 and picked up again in 2011 and 12. ExxonMobil earned 58% more in 2008 as compared to 2007. That's kind of a percentage change I just did myself, but then experienced a substantial decline in annual earnings by around 34% from 2008 to 2009. You can put these percentage numbers. You know how percentages are calculated. I can show these to you right away, but you know in basic economics and finance, we do these. So what is the percentage change from 2008 to 7? 2008 number, final value, minus the initial value in 2007, divided by the initial value in 2007 times 100. That's the percentage calculation, and that's, oops. I'm thinking 2000, 58% more. No, 58% more in 2008 compared to 2007. So B8, why did the wrong number here? As you can see, B8 minus B7 is 2010 to 2009. So 58% more divided by B7, 2000, it should be 2010. ExxonMobil earned 58% more in 2010 compared to 2009. Mistake over there. But however, for 2008 to 7, it's a percentage increase in earnings from 7 to 8, excuse me, was 70% increase. So make sure the percentages are correct numbers. This is an increase in earnings from 2011 to 2010. It's just a 25% increase. So the remarkable increases are between 2008 to 7 to 8 and 8 to 2009 to 10. And then it keeps on increasing and then it's falling towards the end. But anyways, so this is a bar graph. This is a bar graph that we use for time series data. The last thing I want to show you in this basic Excel video is something as a automaker problem I kind of extracted from your from the same textbook pages. And kind of here also, as I told you, sales by automakers in 2 particular years, I use the pie chart. So that's a good comparison. That's even like you can use the pie chart. It's a vast problem. It's a substantially big problem where you have the different automaker manufacturing companies from February 2009 and February 2010, a little dated. Your next edition of the textbook may have better, more recent data. But anyways, so you see that percentage change in sales over each year, and you can actually plot again a bar graph by the sales by years by leading automakers. So what you do is you can take just these three, insert, go back to these and see it falls into place. You don't have to do any more adjustments. Ford, GM, Nissan, and Hyundai had significant increase in percentage sales from 2009 to 2010. That's I figured out from my own calculations here. But this is a neat bar graph showing GM's sales in 2009 versus 10. 10 is the gray one. Ford sales, Chrysler sales. You'll see most of the automakers lost except a few because 2019 was the recession year. And that's your plotting through a bar. That was easy. Also to show how what automakers percentage sales, well, percentage sales would also reflect, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the percentage share of the market. And it's a big thing in marketing, right? And management. How much is your company making and how much is your share in the market that year? And compared to another year, if Honda increased its share, it increased its sales value, Nissan is increased its sales value, that can easily be depicted by this pie chart, by these pie graphs. I have calculated these myself, but here in these two pie graphs, just like the way I showed you in the first case, when we were doing the holiday sales, you can take the sales by automakers in February 2010, get the pie chart done, and put the percentage numbers just like you put the data levels. And once you have done this and the data is shown just like in holiday expenses case, GM had 23% share of the market, whereas it had 22% share of the market in 2009. GM increased its share from 2009 to 2010. Just by graphs, you're showing these, ladies and gentlemen. Hyundai increased, almost had stable share, whereas Toyota increased its share from 20% to almost 36% in 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't have to also do this percentage calculation. The pie graphs, the pie charts for each year would compare these. But again, remember, pie charts are static. For each year, you have to do two different pie charts. So if you're looking at the cells for too many years, then it would be a little bit confusing. You might as well do a bar graph or a time series graph. And then you have some of the percentage cells and reporting. I have put some remark out here, use the review column to make a comment. What is the increase in percentage cells? How much is the increase? Who is falling? So you can do these increase or decrease also in terms of by bar graphs and all these. So for example, this is GM for all the others and some more in the list from February 16, February 17. Calculate the percentage change in sales for each year. So what I'm doing in all these calculations is taking what is the percentage increase or decrease from 17 to 16. So this minus this divided by the initial times 100. So GM saw a fall in sales, many has fallen in sales, and then what we do is we just take the manufacturers and the percentage changes. So here, I'll take the whole, all the groups here. Okay. And here, when you copy paste something that you have just used a formula, this is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Please remember, copy here. You right click. What I will do is, and see my diagram changed because I cleaned up the numbers. I will copy, I click copy or Control C. And here, don't do Control V, it will run off. Just do paste special. Since you used a formula, paste special, use values, and the formula just come up. And now you can see, since I already had the bar graph ready, who has increased in sales and who has decreased in sales. This is a nice report you can present to your boss. So some of the companies have lost in 2000, there's a negative percentage sales, change in sales, and some of the companies increased in percentage sales, very few car companies, and you can put that in your report. So what are the car companies that actually increased? Only Toyota, Chrysler, and Ford out here, and Kia Motors, whereas the others, Volvo also increased, whereas the rest of the of all these car automakers, 14 to 15, the rest just has a negative percentage, meaning decrease in sales. Again, using a bar graph to do that. These are sales of some selected company, again, taken from your textbook. But anyways, I already have these posted on Blackboard, so you can go over the formula, look at the pie charts, go over these in a video a little bit in details, ladies and gentlemen, to see what exactly I've been doing, what I've been saying about use of the pie charts and the bar graphs, in what circumstances you use a pie chart versus a bar graph. Remember, in time series, when you have a long number of years, a column graph or a bar graph is always a good idea. We'll carry on doing more Excel stuff. Very quickly, I'll show you what's there, where it is in your Blackboard. So go to your course, ladies and gentlemen. And I have a full Excel guidelines tab in your course out here. And the first thing I do is basic tools in Excel. That's where I have written up all these. Let me show you these basic tools and bar charts and pie graphs also. So basic tools are the general guidelines. The general guidelines, what each of the menu bars are for, as I said. And then I am showing you through a screenshot how you can go to File, Options, Adding and Analysis, and use and incorporate or include the data analysis in your toolbar if it's not there. So in Words, I have a Word document fully showing you all the above menus and how you kind of add the data analysis. After reviewing this video, if you still have some questions in the use of basic tools in Excel, you can always email me or Zoom with me. But in the next topic on chapter 2, when we go to frequency distribution, we'll be using the histogram in Excel. So better have your data analysis toolbar already posted on your Excel worksheet, and go to the adding and add it as a tool in your Excel.